Hello, this is Coach Tim Campbell, and I'm your host for the Self-Made as a Myth, Make a Difference Together show, where we are talking with CEOs and business owners about their stories and journey to building their business. And because we know that achieving success in business is not something that we can do on our own, we're taking some time to recognize the folks who helped us to excel. I'm excited to have a CEO from Indiana with us today. My guest loves swing dancing and has performed a few times. In her downtime, she enjoys hiking and gardening, and she also raises monarch butterflies. So we'll want to learn a little bit more about that. That's very interesting. And she's most proud of her ability to connect with others and bring teams together to make things happen that hasn't happened before. And I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more about that as well. It's my pleasure to welcome Maria to the show today. Hello, Maria.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on today, Tim.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us a little of your personal story, like where you were born and live, and about your family, and especially about those butterflies.
Yeah, I grew up, or I was born in Claypool, Indiana, which is up in northern Indiana, and then my family moved to the Yorktown, Muncie area when I was about 6 or 7, and grew up there, went to Yorktown High School, graduated a year early from high school, and lived in Germany. I won a scholarship to go as an exchange student there. And came back and have lived in the Carmel area ever since. And so I live near kind of the Carmel High School area, really nice Monon walking trails, which I love to go walking, and I love the outdoors, hiking. And as you mentioned, the monarch butterflies actually in March. So if you know much about the migration of the monarch butterfly, it's really fascinating, but they overwinter in Mexico. And so in March, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm going to see the overwintering site. So I flew to Mexico City and then took a car ride 3 hours into the mountains and then stayed at this little B&B, and then took another like 2 hour car ride to
Oh,
the
wow.
sanctuary, then a horseback ride up the mountain, and then another hike past the horseback ride and found the trees where the monarch butterflies are. And it's literally like another world experience because
Wow.
you're looking and you're seeing thousands and thousands of butterflies, and when they get to a certain temperature the light hits them and they call it a butterfly explosion. And so like they'll be all clustered together, and there's just this, it looks almost like a beehive in the tree, and it's just this huge cluster of monarch butterflies, and then they just explode, and then you just see all the butterflies
Oh,
flying everywhere.
wow.
So I just cried the whole time.
And now
So
you raise them yourself? Is that right?
yeah, I've been doing that for a few years. I was on a walk and I saw the sun caught something in the weeds, and I saw it and I walked over, and it was this little jade green, like oval kind of shape, with these gold dots on it. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's like jewelry. What is this? Started researching it. It was the chrysalis of a monarch butterfly. I've never seen anything more beautiful in my life. And I was just fascinated. So then I was like, I have to learn everything about this. And wow, I plant milkweed, and
I
I
was
have
going
the
to ask that. I grew up in the country, and that was the thing. We collected them right in a jar and had to pick the milkweed for them. So yes,
Yep,
you grow
yep.
milkweed. All right.
And now I like there's an organization called Monarch Watch where you can order tags. And so you can record the number on the tag and then put the tag on the butterfly before you release it. And then they go to these sanctuaries in Mexico, and then the ones after they mate, they want some of them die, and then the next generation flies out. So there people will gather them to try to track where the tags were put
Oh,
on
wow.
and see where the butterflies came from. I've not had one of my tagged butterflies found yet that I know of, but I'm waiting for that day.
Yes, very cool. Wow, that is awesome. Well, hey, Maria, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share with us today?
Yes. So I was trying to think. I love nature and animals. I always have, and so I remember the story of, we were by the lake and someone had like a gallon bucket and they were putting like fish and different things in it. and someone got a snapping turtle and had put it in the bucket. And I must have been 5 or so, and the story, I don't remember it, but the story is that I went over to the bucket and I saw the turtle and I picked the turtle up and I kissed it.
Oh.
And the snapping turtle bit my lip. So that's the story that I could think of.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably don't remember it because it was so traumatic that you just blocked
Traumatic.
it out of your mind. Yeah.
I know, I'm like, I should look and see if I have a scar. I never have done that, but I don't think I do.
So tell us how the business came about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run a business?
Yeah, so the Carmel Christkindlmarkt was the brainchild actually of Mayor Jim Brainard, and he had been over to Germany in 2016 and in the winter and saw these Christkindlmarkts in the different cities he visited. So he came back from that experience and was like, "We're bringing this to Carmel." And I was in banking at the time and went to a networking event. And at that networking event, I heard him speak about this vision. And having lived in Germany, celebrated my first Christmas in Germany with my host family there because my family of origin here in the United States didn't celebrate Christmas. I had a very special place in my heart uh, for Christmas celebrated in the German way. And so I was like, oh, I need to get involved with this. So after that meeting, I went up to Mayor Brainerd and shared with him about how I speak German and love German Christmas and would love to help in any way. And so I started volunteering just on a committee to bring the Carmel Christkindlmarkt to Carmel. And after about 3 or 4 months, I got a call from him where he asked me to meet with him. And he shared with me that he wanted to hire me as the CEO. And he coined the other title I have, which is Market Master, which I think is really a fun title. So CEO and Market Master. Um, and so, yeah, he offered me the opportunity to launch this event for the city. And honestly, I had zero confidence at that time that I could do it because I was like, I've never done anything like this in my
Yeah.
life. But it really, a lot of his seeing something in me that I couldn't see quite yet was really what sparked that initial confidence that I could maybe do this, especially with that kind of support from someone who believes in you. And so I really do credit a lot of that initial confidence to him and just his being able to pursue me in this role and say, you really can do this. And I see it. I see your passion for this. And um, yeah.
So you've shared this with me offline, but just tell folks a little bit of the backstory of, you mentioned already that you went on exchange to Germany, but just give a little bit more insight on your discovery of Christmas in Germany and how that has kind of driven you to create this event in Carmel.
Yeah, so when I was an exchange student in Germany, it was 2005 to 2006, which dates me a little bit, but um, I lived there with a host family, and they are as I said, we didn't my family of origin here in the US didn't celebrate holidays, and so when I was there, my host family was very respectful of that and said, "You don't have to celebrate with us, but if you'd like to, we welcome that." And I said, "Yeah, while I'm here, I really want to experience every part of the culture, including the holidays." And it was really fascinating, and I didn't know any of this until I lived there, but many of our what you would think of American Christmas traditions actually were originally German.
Hmm.
And so, like the Christmas tree, the first Christmas trees were popularized in Germany. Christmas ornaments in Lauscha, Germany, it's where the mouth blown, hand painted glass ornaments started. And it's interesting because if you go really nerdy in the history, Queen Victoria, who married Prince Albert in England. So Prince Albert was German,
Hmm.
and he brought the Christmas tree to the palace in England. And there is a really famous uh, drawing of Prince Albert and Queen Victoria in front of a Christmas tree with the candles on it.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was one of the things that popularized the Christmas tree. It wasn't until that German heritage was brought into England. So it's just, there's lots of fun things
Very
like
cool.
that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us more about, for those who aren't familiar with the organization, tell us again the name, what you guys do, how you make a difference.
Yeah. So the name of the organization is Carmel Christkindlmarkt. And I always say it like Chris, the name of a guy, and then Kendall, like the reader. So Chris, Kendall, and then with a T, sorry, Chris with a T, Chris and then T, and then Kendall, like the reader, and then market without the E. So market. Chris Kendall Markt. And these are German holiday festivals that have been around since very, very long time in Germany. They originated there, and they kind of started like winter farmers markets
Mm.
in the town square where people could come and exchange meat for different wood crafts that people had carved out for the holidays, the butchers trading with the wood carver and, this type of thing. Then eventually little stands were built, and then it's become this huge thing, phenomenon all over Europe and now in the United States and Canada as well. And even in Asia, I have a friend that went to Japan and she came out of a train station and there was a very traditional German Christkindlmarkt
Oh, wow.
in Japan with the lederhosen and dirndls and everything. And she was sending me pictures. She's like, my mind is blown right now. But anyway, so they're all over the world now. And it really, when you come to a traditional Christkindlmarkt, you have this feeling. There's a word in German called Gemütlichkeit, which means just like comfy, cozy.
Mm.
And it kind of makes you feel like the old world, like things have slowed down. There's the smell of the sausages. There's a spice mulled wine called Glühwein that you drink, roasted nuts, just handmade artisan high quality products that you can one of a kind things you can get as gifts. It's really just we have ice skating. um, it really just feels, a lot of people will say, like a Hallmark movie.
Mm. Yeah.
As a modern reference. So that's what we do. And it's about 6 weeks long in the heart of Carmel, the one that I run. And we work I work all year round, going to Germany, finding artisans to come and do demonstrations, wood carving, making product on site. We have bands on the stage, Alphorns coming. Um, like if you've seen the Ricola commercial, the Ricola, those are Alphorns. So we have Alphorn players
Yeah.
come, all kinds of different entertainment dancers. We have an area for crafting for the kids. It's just on and on and on. Puppet shows.
Well, I have to say, having gone to it this past season, that I think we tried every single sausage that they offer. And if it wasn't for the fact that our stomachs were blowing up, we would have went back again because the food is delicious.
Oh, I'm so glad you had a good experience. Did you try the currywurst, the one with the sauce on it?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Isn't it good?
It's good. Yes, and we did the nuts as well.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
good.
just so many options. It's wonderful. So,
I'm
hey,
so
Maria,
glad you had a
share
good
a story
experience.
where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think you could, and the impact that that person had on you.
I think I'll I think the first person that really had that impact on me would be there would be two people well, there would be two people around the scholarship time, honestly. One was my German teacher, Frau Kelly, who told me about the Congress-Bundestag exchange scholarship. And the other one was a lady named Lisa Ferguson. And Lisa ran a small Bible study in her home. And through an invitation of someone at school, I ended up going to that. And she is to this day a mother like figure for me. My mom has passed,
Mm.
so she's someone that has stepped in to really be there in that role for me. And when I was looking at applying for this scholarship, and I didn't really know where to start. And she was there by my side. She helped edit this, the essays that I had to write,
Uh-huh.
and I had to do in-person interviews. So she sat down with me and we mock interviewed. When I came back from Germany and I was applying for jobs again with my resume, she was one that was right there by my side, working with me on those things. A good friend of mine who's a little older than me, and at that time, at that age, that age gap was a lot more made a lot more difference. But Alyssa Smith is her name, and she let me borrow a suit to wear to my first bank interview because I didn't own my own suit, and just those three people, Frau Kelly, Lisa, her husband Dave, and Alyssa, all are people that really said, Marie, you can do this.
Mm.
You can launch out into the world and explore things beyond just what you've known in Yorktown, Indiana. And so very grateful for all of them.
Oh, wonderful. What an amazing group of people who have all been part of now you running this market in Carmel. So it's interesting how something so many years ago has led to where you are today. So tell us, what's your biggest learning as a CEO?
Ooh, there are so many learning curves in this role. And I think um, there's a lot of talk about like that imposter syndrome
Mm.
these days. And and I think that has been something I've really struggled with is like, yeah, just really owning that I am in the right role,
Mhm.
and I don't um I'm not faking anything. It's just authentic and it is what it is, and just allowing myself to accept the things that I don't know, the things I'm still learning, and the things that I need to grow into, and also accept that I do know a lot of things and I do have a lot of skill sets that I'm bringing to the table,
Yeah.
and not to minimize those.
Mm.
So that those are some of the things that I have to work on and continue to grow in. Another big one is delegation
Mm.
because
Yes.
it is so hard as a CEO to do everything is impossible.
Yeah.
And so really learning to trust my team, to lean on my team, to 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 trust them to set boundaries where like I'm always afraid like I'm putting too much
Yes.
on my
Yes.
team. And so I'm
Yes.
like, no, they will tell me and we can work it
Yes.
out, but I've got to trust to delegate. Um,
That's a big
yeah,
one. I hear that a lot in terms of
yeah,
two different sides of that coin is one, folks are like, well, nobody can do the job as well as me, right? Or be as efficient as me or as detailed as me. So it's just easier for me to do it myself. Now, the problem with that is, right, there's only 24 hours in a day and we're going to hit capacity and we can't, we just then can't do as many things if we don't learn to delegate. The other you mentioned too is the fear of, well, what if I overload them? Well, I
yeah.
liked what you said. The way we get beyond that is we just ask people in a weekly check-in of, hey, how are you doing? Right? Are you at capacity or not? And more
Yeah,
times than not, we actually hear that they're not at capacity, right? And they want to take on more
exactly.
because they want to prove themselves or they want to make more of a difference. It's like, oh my goodness, if I had have asked that 6 months ago, right, I could have got more off my plate. Okay, I'm glad to hear that
Exactly.
you're doing that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so hard. I think also taking the time to articulate clearly the
Mm,
expectations. It
yes.
feels easier just to do it yourself
Yes.
than to sit down and take the time to really think through, well,
Yes.
how do I want this done? You know?
Yes, yes.
It's,
There's a really cool tool. It's called Loom, but it's basically it
oh
will
yes.
video, right, whatever you're doing on your computer. So what I share with clients is, you have to do it anyway. So just record yourself doing it. And now you've got a training video, right? Just talk through the steps as you're recording it. And now you've got something to be able to hand off and have someone else do it for you.
A friend of mine, actually Alyssa Smith that I just mentioned a minute ago, she and I were chatting and she started using Loom recently in her business, and she said it's been a game changer for her. So that's 2 times, I better check it out
You
now that I've heard it
mentioned
twice.
imposter syndrome as well, and I've probably spoken with at least 1,000 business owners and leaders, and everybody has some version of imposter syndrome. And here's the thing I would share with everyone listening is we don't have it all figured out. None of us do, right? And so we're just doing the best that we can with the knowledge that we have and continuing to grow and develop. So I like what you said, right? Just embrace it, understand, right, that we're a work in process, and that's okay because nobody has it figured out, despite what it might appear on social media.
Right? Oh, yes. Yeah, no, it's true. No one has it figured out, and the more you network and the more you get to know people, you realize that, like, everybody is still growing and learning, and
Yeah.
I think we are our harshest critics.
Yes,
We are our
indeed.
own
Yes,
harshest critics,
indeed. The
so
the messages that we play around in our head, the self-limiting beliefs, right,
yep.
can be our worst enemy because it keeps talking us out of the things that we're more than capable of doing. Yeah.
There's a book I recently been listening to on Spotify. I bought the book on Spotify and I've been listening to it. It's called The Big Leap. I don't remember the author's name. Gay Hendricks. Gay Hendricks is the name, and it's all about these ideas and like he calls it the upper limit problem,
Mm,
and he refers to basically there are different things that we as survival mechanisms when we start to feel too good we put things in place to try to like make sure we're safe
yeah.
essentially.
Yes.
And so it's this whole very interesting concept of like, okay, so what are my upper limit problems and how can I release those so that I can
Mm,
take myself to the next level?
yeah.
And he talks about finding your zone of genius. So a
Ah,
lot of people have a zone of competence and then they have a I don't know if I said that word right, competence.
confidence. Yeah.
Uh, and then the second one he was talking about, well, there's incompetence and then competence and then excellence. Like there's a zone of like where you excel and you're really good at it, but then there's the zone of genius, which is where
Mm,
flow is and where you're really like it doesn't feel like work because it's
sure.
just
Yeah.
water off a duck's back, so to speak. And so, yeah, he talks a lot about when we hit those upper limit problems and we can break through those, then we can get to that zone of genius, as he calls it.
I love
So
it.
I've been really enjoying that book.
Yeah. What was the name of it again?
The Big Leap.
Okay. Wonderful.
Got a picture of a fishbowl with like a little fish jumping into the bigger fishbowl.
Love it. Yeah. Hey, Maria, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about what one of your biggest challenges as a CEO and maybe a fellow CEO or a business owner who came alongside you and helped you through that challenge.
There have been so many examples of this, and I have to go back to um, networking and mentors for each of these. Um, Also, board members and different advisors. Uh, One person that I've reached out to numerous times would be Dave Ferguson. He works at Ball State University and is just someone that I rely on. He's a dean over there, who I've relied on many times where how do I say this? There are sticky situations interpersonally that can come up
Sure. Yes.
in business, as we all know, and especially with the Carmel Christkindlmarkt, I'm working in a organization that's a not-for-profit that's very tied to the city. It's
Mhm.
really tied to the community, and there are a lot of very invested people who care about the community and the city and want to see this event successful. And so there are a lot of different ways that people want to accomplish that same goal. And so navigating that can sometimes be challenging. And
That's
So
a very political way to say there are lots of people who have different opinions and feel like their opinion is the most important.
no comment. No, but yes, and I think all of it's very well intended.
Yes.
It's just trying to navigate that, and I think Dave has been someone who has given me a lot of wisdom over how to read people and how to see the heart instead of getting frustrated and getting angry or defensive as I sometimes want to be of my work or my whatever,
Yeah.
and to be able to step back and go, okay, first of all, none of this is really mine, right? Like, this is all bigger than me. This
Yeah.
doesn't define who I am, my identity. So let's let go of the ego.
Mm, yeah.
Take a deep breath and call Dave. And then you talk through it and you go, oh, yeah, this is not about me, is it? No, this isn't really about me. This really isn't about the Christkindlmarkt. This is about da 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 da.
Sure.
So how do we gracefully step into those things and
Hmm.
get those goals met
Yeah.
and those needs of that person met. Um,
I
and it is
love
not
that insight of it's not about me. That's a hard thing for us to separate from, right? Because we put so much time and energy into into our roles, into our careers, that to be able to say, okay, yeah, this isn't who I am and how I'm defined can be a very big challenge.
It really is, especially like you said, when you've put, for me, 6 years, of my life into this, and I've really put my heart into it and build it, I call it my baby.
Yeah, right?
And so it feels very personal a lot of the time, but most of the time it's not personal. It really isn't, and it's yeah, being able to separate that. So I think Rebecca Simon's another one I always love to share about. She's someone that I call on when I have a contract review or like for myself, and um, just just business negotiating and business sense. She's someone who I have a lot of respect for her business acumen and banking contacts over the years, friends at the Indie Chamber. Tony Neely is one that I have reached out to on different things. And then other challenges that I've faced, just like getting solutions for different random things. It's been so
Mm,
fun to be able to call on my BNI friends from
mm,
Business Networking International. Um, Michael Salimi is one where I had needed some promotional products and I needed like paper bags with the Christkindlmarkt logo. And it was like, I just needed someone to handle that for me.
yeah,
And just to being able to call on him, it's not like, it doesn't sound like a big challenge, but just to have trusted people to take care of different
yes,
aspects of
yes,
it
for
and
sure.
to not have to worry about, you know, yeah, just to be able to hand things off with trust because of the relationships built over time.
I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. If I
Okay.
asked you to pick three people in your journey of running this business that you're most grateful for them helping you with the growth of the business, who are those three people and how they help you?
I think Mayor Brainard
Mm.
would be one because he's always been, we haven't always agreed on everything, but he's always been in my corner. And in the end, helped get things done when there were obstacles in the way. So, and always, I feel like has always had faith in me,
Mm,
um, that I could do this job and do it well.
yeah.
And he's given me a lot of responsibility and trust, which has given me a lot of confidence. So, Mayor Brainerd for sure. Lisa, as I mentioned, she's someone who has mentored me through this process, and her husband, Dave Ferguson. Um, I think Alyssa Smith as well, um, and Rebecca. On my team, there are so many team members um, along the way who have stepped in different areas. at the moment, Michael Namias is one on our operations side who has really just has taken over so many projects in that delegation process and has excelled so well. Like, I really can just sit back and trust him with so much of the work now. It's been really an honor to work with him. Um, Hannah Kiefer is another one on the marketing side who has been I've been so grateful for her ability to market the market and really get the news out about it and help with the growth that we've had. And then the other business owners, um, I would say the vendors at the market, the ones running the booths that
Mm.
have put their trust in me. Um, Joe Burns is a guy who lives in Wisconsin who owns he make I want to say it in German, Käserei, which is a cheesery, which doesn't translate, but he makes cheese. What's that in English? It's not a dairy. It's a, I don't know. What do
I
you
like
call it?
cheesery actually. Let's just rebrand it as that.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, my brain. Käserei. I can only think of the German word. Um, that's hilarious. Well, anyway, Joe, he runs the raclette stand if you've ever been to the market
Mhm.
where you scrape the cheese over the bread. And in year one, 2017, I reached out to him because I'd seen his product at other Christkindlmarkts in Chicago and New York. And I asked if he would come visit, and he came, visited me here in Carmel. We went around the Carmel's farmers market, talked through everything, and he really took a leap of faith to come and have a second booth here, or third booth here in Carmel. And has he's then built a special grill for the sausages and took over the sausage booth, and he's now doing some other special things that will be coming out this year. And he's just a business owner that also I can reach out to and ask questions and just see what he's experienced at other markets across the United States and see what best practices are. And just to have his advice and counsel has been
That's
really
awesome.
helpful throughout the years.
Very cool. As you think about the next 3 to 5 years, what are the biggest challenges that you see that you're going to face in reaching your goals, and who are the types of people you're going to need to overcome those?
So I think given where our location is, I think one of our biggest issues is space constraints.
Mm,
There's only so much growth when you have that footprint.
yeah.
And so then getting strategic and like, do we make smaller huts? Just those types of things. So one of my former BNI colleagues, Paul Ewer from Quantum Architecture,
Yeah.
is one that I've reached out to recently. And I said, hey, we need to start doing some 3 to 5 year mapping out of this space and looking at where could we put in new electrical, what if we close down just all these like brainstorming and looking at what are our options for growth in the next 5 years. So
Fantastic.
really, yeah,
Yeah.
just reaching out to some of those people. Politically, I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges too, because we do have such a partnership with the city. We're
Mhm.
getting ready to get a new mayor. There's an election coming up here in November, and Miles Nelson or Sue Finkum, one of those will be the new mayor. And so partnering with them
Mhm.
to build relationship and build a plan for the future that works with their vision and the market's vision for this event is going to be something that I'll just need to work through with the new incoming mayor at that time, and keeping things interesting and keeping it new, keeping it
Mhm.
fresh. Like, we don't
Right.
want the market to be boring. And
Yeah.
so I have 10 ideas of different things I want to bring over from Germany. There's something called Würzungsbulle, which is where you have this giant sugar cube, like pour rum over it, and then you light it on fire, and then it like drips into the glue vine below, and then you serve it. And it's like this whole thing, and it's like a show. And I've got other products that I'm super interested in adding to the market, Baumkuchen and other things, but it will, you know, right now we only have a beer and wine license. So how do we get a temporary hard alcohol permit,
Mhm.
and just these
Right.
different things for growth. And that I'll need lots of advisors, and they're people who are experts in their field on those different areas, and
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Awesome. Hey,
it's
last question here, Maria. Jim Rohn, an amazing business guru, says that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So, as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for CEOs or business owners who are trying to do it on their own and think that they shouldn't ask for help?
yeah, given that quote, I feel like what my mind immediately thought was, "Well, then you'll be stuck because
Mhm.
the 5 people you're surrounding yourself is the one you, and you can't learn really so well from yourself many times. You need that outside input." So I feel like there's a lot of stagnation and lack of growth when you don't have those people surrounding you to help you grow. And so I would just say, if you don't wanna be stuck and you truly do wanna grow and advance and learn, then don't do it. Don't do it alone. Surround yourself. There's no one that that can do it well alone and succeed and really get to that, like, using Gay Hendricks' word, zone of genius,
Yeah.
or really breaking through those, those upper limit things where we hit our threshold and breaking through to that next level. We need those people around us to encourage us, to guide us, and to, yeah, just give us wisdom along the way.
What some of the things sometimes I hear people say, "Well, I don't want to ask because I don't want to bother people." Now it sounds like you've had tons of people helping you. So, what would you say to those people who are concerned about well, folks are too busy to help me?
Yeah, I think in my experience when I've been on the other end, where there have been people who have reached out to me for help. I have someone right now that's trying to start a new festival.
Mm.
And a few years ago, a lady in Peru, Indiana reached out and said, she wanted to start a festival and just wanted to ask me some advice and help in navigating all the things you navigate with that. And I felt honored.
Hmm.
I felt, like it was a privilege to be able to walk alongside someone else in their journey and to share the tidbits of that might be encouraging or helpful, that I've learned over the way, and it made me feel like there was more purpose in the
Hmm.
struggles sometimes that I've gone through, so that I
Yes.
could like, "Oh, I could help someone else." There was purpose in me learning that
Yeah. Oh, I love that thought. It makes it all worth it, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, so I think if you find, again, not a forced relationship where you're, like, trying to make something happen in a mentorship that's just, like, not authentic, but finding those authentic connections, it it just proves to be an honor both ways, I
Hmm.
feel like, where you feel honored that they're spending time with you, and they feel honored to have someone to share their wisdom and their guidance with, and someone who's actually gonna listen and act walk through, like, take
Yeah.
action on it. So, I think that that's kind of in our head,
Mhm.
that thought of being a burden,
Yeah.
and I think for me, many times when that message has popped up, it's tied to my imposter syndrome kind of thing, like,
Yes.
they're gonna find out how much I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Or and it's like,
Yes.
that's where you just have to let go of the ego.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that advice. Um, it sounds like you've been blessed with some pretty incredible people that have helped you on your journey. If they were all on the show here today, Maria, what would you want to say to them?
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me cry. Um, yeah, just thank you for seeing in me what I couldn't see in myself
Mm.
and encouraging me along the way, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I wouldn't be where I am today without each and every one of them.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thanks so much for being on the show.